not too excited about the Stags, and I'm not too excited about the Wellington Firebirds in terms of their chances with what they could do this season. Wellington Firebirds don't quite have the level of young talent coming through, and even their veterans are they're good, but they're not quite at the high end of the veterans around Aotearoa. You've got guys like Michael Paps, Hamish Bennett's come up from Canterbury, Luke Woodcock, Brent Arnell, Gina Patel,
Whoa.
Stephen Murdoch and Michael Pollard. Like, these are all solid cricketers, but I just can't.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there, Doc. That sounds like some standard New Zealand battlers. I mean, that's domestic cricket royalty there. Michael Paps, Hamish Bennett.
Well, they're royal battlers, but
Bryn
they're
Arnell.
not like Colin Munro.
Not necessarily going to win you a
of-
title.
Yeah, like, it's just
yeah.
just the level of talent isn't there, and they don't, like, a lot of these provinces or domestic associations have got just freakish amounts of young talent coming through. The level of young talent at Wellington is just not quite there. You've got Fraser Colson, who's an exciting young prospect. Tom Blundell's a wicket-keeper batsman to keep an eye on in that middle order, but besides that, there's not a whole lot that excites me about that team.
Nah, they're not the flashiest by the look of it. Got a guy called Peter Younghusband, though. That's a name and a half.
Yep, another...
I googled him before to see about him. He's done some... like the one main article about him, because obviously there are not too many articles about individual domestic cricket players, but it was something along the lines of Peter Younghusband denies the quote specialist fielder tag. He's done a bit of fill-in stuff for the Black Caps. You know how they get the domestic dude to and apparently he used to flat with Matt Henry.
Yep, so he's graduated from being the Black Caps sub-fielder to earning a domestic contract, and he's another one of these African cricketers who have made their way across to Aotearoa. I think he was born in Zimbabwe,
really?
So he joins, mate, a bloody long list of Africans who have graced us with their presence. That's in stark contrast to like a team like Canterbury wildcard. Canterbury's like, this is a team that excites me because you've just got like Ken McClure scored plenty of runs in the back end of last season. He's only like 21 years old. Jeremy Benton, young left arm spinner, and that's a low key storyline to keep an eye on this season as well, because Auckland have Nathula, they've got Rob O'Donnell and Mark Chapman can both bowl a bit of spin. Northern Knights have a lad called Joseph Walker who will probably get an opportunity with Mitchell Santner away on Black Caps duty. Central Stags have Ajaz Patel. Canterbury have Jeremy Benton, who's an exciting spinner, and you've also got Josh Finney down at Otago. So there's a bit of young spin talent coming through to put pressure on the likes of Ish Sodhi and Mitchell Santner. And you've got like some of these Cantabrians are just I don't know where to begin, mate. I don't know where to begin because Ed Nuttall...
Peter Fulton. Begin with Peter Fulton.
No, he's not young. I want to go with the youngster. You got Ed Nuttall, left arm swing. Like, he is pretty much a direct replica of Trent Boult. You got Logan Van Beek, the Dutch international. He's an all-rounder, takes wickets and can offer a bit with the bat. Kyle Jamieson is 8 foot tall, which is something a bit special, like bit unique in the Kiwi bowling stakes, as he's got a point of difference to him.
I would have guessed closer to 9 feet.
Yeah, he's up there. He's touching the clouds when he bowls, but it's just a point of difference and a pretty, a lot of the Kiwi bowlers, especially seam bowlers, are fairly similar. So how he broke out last season, enjoyed a strong season. You've got Tim Johnston, who offers a bit of spin as well. Leo Carter will open the innings for Canterbury. He's an exciting youngster as well. So Cameron Fletcher's part of a trio of young wicket-keepers, along with Tim Seifert and Tom Blundell, who I'm intrigued about. Canterbury are going to be tough because, as you said, they do have and this is what I'm talking about, the calibre of veterans. Todd Astle, leg spin, batting down the order. He's one of the best performers in domestic cricket. Peter Fulton is a domestic cricket bully. And then you've got Andrew Ellis, who is, in my eyes, probably the best all-rounder in domestic cricket. So they've got 3 veteran cricketers but all three are at the top of their little niche within the Kiwi cricketing landscape.
If I remember correctly, Andrew Ellis once played a World Cup semi-final as well. That's not one to ignore. And of course, Pt.2 has a domestic triple century to his name. Gone back a few years now, but still. And speaking of names, any word on William Williams?
No idea.
Because that's a hell of a
idea,
one.
mate. Because when I clicked on him, clicked through his link on ESPN Crick Info, it took me to some English cricketer from 1819 by the name of William Williams. So
yeah, it's an 1890s kind of name,
yeah,
eh? Well, I looked him up on the Canterbury Cricket website. His full name is William Salter Austin Williams. So if your name is like William Frank James Williams, you'll probably just go by James Williams or something like that. But when your middle names are Salter Austin, you kind of have to go William Williams.
William
But
Williams.
that's cool. I like that. It sets them apart.
It does indeed. And Canterbury are up there as the two best teams in domestic cricket this summer, along with Auckland. They've just got the strongest squad along with Auckland, so they are part of the top two.
Well, they were runners-up to Auckland last year, so,
And that brings me, wildcard,
nothing's changed.
to Otago, who are probably my low-key smoky dark horse to make some waves.
Well, they'd better be, because they haven't won the Plunket Shield for 29 years, and everyone else has won it fairly recently within the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. The Volts haven't won it for 29 years, although they did come runners-up 3 of the last 6 years. So
yep,
there's potential.
They've got a great mix of veteran cricketers and guys who have been on the scene for 4 or 5 seasons, and then just some young talent that I don't think an Otago team has had before or in recent years. You've got Derek de Border, you've got Anaru Kitchen, you've got Michael Bracewell and Hamish Rutherford and Brad Wilson, who form a core group of veterans. Bracewell and Rutherford are, they're both 25, 26 years old, been on the domestic scene for a number of years now. They will be wanting to push their Black Cap selection case along pretty rapidly this season, and that's there's young cricketers coming through, but then you've got guys like these two who are experienced, and they just need to take their games to the next level to demand selection at the Black Caps. But then you've got guys like Josh Finney, who's a New Zealand under-19 player. You've got Jack Hunter, who is also a New Zealand under-19 player. Warren Barnes is only 24 years old. He went down from Auckland. He bowls pretty damn quickly as well. And then you've got Jacob Duffy, who is the pick. So Jack Hunter and... Well, Jack Hunter's 21 years old. Then you've got Michael Ray, who's also 21 years old. Warren Barnes is in his early 20s. And Jacob Duffy's got 30 games to his name, and he's only 22 years old. So Jacob Duffy's the pick of their seam bowlers, but there's 4 or 5 seam bowlers in that Otago squad who are all young, and they're all pretty damn talented. So they will be a very interesting team to watch out for. And then you've got Christy Valion, who is a Namibian international, and he took 11 wickets in his last 3 games last season, along with hitting a couple of runs as well. So he's an exciting one to watch out for.
I'm really interested in the recipe for success that is had a taste of the top level, maybe didn't quite crack it there, but has that experience, and now is sort of coming into those prime years with something to prove, and that kind of gives Hamish Rutherford a few things to be, maybe he's an undercover top run scorer candidate or something like that,
Yeah, so you've got George Walker and Hamish Rutherford, who were never really mentioned in that opening bracket. It's all been about Jet Raval, but Rutherford's coming off a season with Derbyshire in England, so he'll be keen to show that he's learnt how to leave and defend around his off stump instead of flailing at everything outside off stump and getting caught.
And getting caught at long on all the time.
So it'll just be interesting to see how he bounces back. And Michael Bracewell's been on my every year I'll write about young cricketers coming through. Michael Bracewell's been in every team or every list I've done, but he hasn't quite gone on to bigger and better things. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that.
You're right. You've sold me on Otago. They sound like they seem to be wary of, but at the same time, the thought of picking past Auckland is a little bit difficult at the moment. But you know that Auckland Canterbury duo probably going to be up around the top again.
They will, mate. And what Otago could struggle because they do have a very young bowling attack, so they could be really good. Like Duffy, Barnes, Hunter, and Ray could all catch fire and do some good things. But then they could also struggle with just the consistency required to perform at this level.
Do you have a pick for, or maybe a couple pick options of picks for top run scorers, top wicket takers?
Well, these guys, top run scorers, top wicket takers, have to play a lot of Plunket Shield cricket, because
so the guys who get called up for the Black Caps midway through don't get to be those types.
Yeah, with the runs, I'm probably looking. Popley's going to try look for that again. Will Young will feature, and if I was to pick one other bloke, it would have to be. I'm going Ken McClure from Canterbury to have a big old season as well.
Yes.
So we've got Popley, Young, and McClure, and then wicket takers. I think you're going to see the likes of Nathula and Ajaz Patel feature there heavily because they will bowl a heck of a lot of overs for their respective teams, and spinners tend to do well just because the batsmen don't grow up facing a whole lot of spin, or as much spin as what you do at domestic level and then what you do on international level. It'll be very interesting to see which of these young pace bowlers breaks the shackles and stands up ahead of the others, because you've got guys like Duffy from Otago, Ed Nuttall, Kyle Jamieson from Canterbury, and then Scott Kugelheim from Northern Districts. Adam Milne might play a fair bit of cricket this summer for CD as well. Ben Wheeler, Andrew Matheson for Central, and then you got Lockie Ferguson up in Auckland. So which one of these blokes appears ahead of the pack this season will be very interesting, because at the moment this young seam crop in Aotearoa hasn't quite reached the level where we need to be considering them for Black Cap selection. So one or two of them has to really just be dominant in Plunket Shield cricket to force their way into higher honours.